I'm going to show you exactly what you need to start sharpening at a beginner level. And this is actually the same system that a professional would use as well. I've tested almost every stone on the market. I've tested all sharpening devices. I've tested pretty much everything. So this is coming from, a lot of experience. So first thing is what you're going to need to get is a stone holder. Then you're going to want to get 2 to 3 diamond plates. You only need 2, 3 is better. And then we'll talk about some other things you can add. But to start, you need a coarse and a medium grit. I recommend going to either Atoma, getting an Atoma diamond plate. They are expensive, but they're worth it. Or going to DMT. DMT are USA made. They are, mid-range price. Ultra Sharps are going to be the most affordable ones I recommend. You can get a whole package of them of this size, the 3x8s, a 300, a 600 grit, and a 1200 grit diamond plate for like 138, 140 bucks. Now, you can get the smaller ones for much, much less, but they are much smaller. So I would recommend getting stones or diamond plates from one of these 3 companies. However, you can always go with something like from Worksharp, which is a tri-stone. So it gives you 2 diamond plates and a ceramic. Worksharp has a lot of great sharpening supplies. We could even talk about the field sharpener, but I wouldn't buy this to do full-blown sharpenings. This is something you should be using in the field for maintenance. If you want to know more about the Worksharp field sharpener, I do have a full video on it, but it has angles built in for you, 2 diamond plates, ceramic rod that you can spin for different aggressions. It has a spot for serrations and then a strop. So it basically has everything you need, and also you can replace the plates, in the future if they wear out. So it's a great system to have in your truck, in your car, in your camping gear, your backpack, and also just to do edge maintenance around the house, or even full-blown sharpening if needed. Once you have your diamond plates, whatever 3 you set up with, whether it's from Atoma, Ultra Sharp, or DMT, you're gonna want to get some angle finders. So you can get a whole package of angle finders. I'll link everything from this video down in the description. This has all different angles. We're gonna go with a 17-degree angle. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to start off at an exact angle, the angle you want, and it's gonna help you continue using that same angle, which is in many cases the most difficult part for most people. It's being able to not only find the angle, but to repeat it, because regardless of what angle you use for sharpening, to be able to repeat it is the most important part. So you can just take this little plate right there and then set your knife right on there and then let it go down and hit the stone, and then just hold that angle as you go across. You're gonna lock your wrist, and in order to go across the stone, you're gonna use your elbow, your shoulder, and possibly your body, but not your wrist. And then to get to the tip, you just raise your elbow, because to get to the tip, you don't want to fluctuate your wrist. You want to lift your elbow. See how my wrist is not moving? And that'll get you to the tip. So you got your 17-degree angle right here. Now you can start sharpening. These diamond plates do not require any lubrication. You can add water if you want to, but to clean them off, just soap and water. They're super easy. And this is one of the reasons why I recommend getting diamond plates, because I went through the frustration of using all these water stones, wet stones, oil stones, all these crazy stones that were a mess. They're difficult to use. You have to flatten them. You have to keep water on them or oil. It's messy. These, you just start sharpening. And these are able to cut and put the best quality edges on premium steels like this. This is M390 right here. So, or 20 CV, same thing. Now, because it's diamonds, I'll have no problem cutting this steel or any other steel. So they cut fast, they work well, and that is in many cases the problem with people when they learn to sharpen, is that they're using a stone that's not appropriate for what they're sharpening, and it doesn't cut fast enough. Oh, it's not working! So then they're left, struggling, wondering like, why is my edge not getting sharper, or why am I not, getting anywhere? It's because your stone does not cut fast enough. And diamonds cut the fastest, but you still want to start off with a coarse stone. I recommend between 100 and 300 grit for your first stone. Then, you know, you can move on to a 4 or a 600 grit, just depending on where you start. And then you can move on from there to like 1200. So you can get a 3, a 6, and a 12. You can get a 140, a 400, a 600, and a 12. There's a lot of different setups you can use. Now, I'm almost already done with this side. A couple more passes. Like I said, I like to set the knife down and just let it drop down to the edge. Once it hits the edge at the heel, I hold that angle going across the stone and lift my elbow to get to the tip. And then once you get really good, you won't have to use this anymore. Okay, we have a burr from heel to tip. Now what I like to do after I've sharpened this side, my burr is going to be flipped over here to this side. And if you don't know any of the lingo I'm using, there's lots of videos. I have tons of sharpening videos that explain all this stuff. But what I'm going to do is, since my burr's flipped over like this, I want to peel it back that way. So I'm just going to do a very gentle reverse pass. That's it. And that's just basically getting the burr out of the way without stripping it off. Now, same exact thing on this side. Start with the heel, let it drop down. Once it hits the heel, hold that as you go across, lift your elbow to get to the tip. And if you hear what I'm saying about locking your wrist and using your elbow, that will help you massively for holding your angle. So lock your wrist, don't use your wrist, just use your elbow, your shoulder, and maybe your body. You don't want to add a lot of pressure. You just have a little bit. You add a little bit of pressure, not too much, not too little. You want to be able to hold the angle, and you want to make it feel like you're kind of like cutting a thin layer off the surface of the stone, but don't add too much pressure, because then it'll make you drop angle, because you'll be adding pressure, so it'll make you lower your angle. And you don't want to go too little, because you want the stone. Think about sanding something down. Just think about that. That's the amount of pressure you want to use. You can add more pressure, but not if it sacrifices you holding your angle. And we already got this side done. I have a little bit at the heel I still need to get. So I'm gonna go right here like this. I'm hitting the heel, and I'm gonna just work on it really quick. And then I will blend that in. Anytime you do something like that, where you work on one specific area, don't do too much, and then blend it in. All right, so now we've done this side, we've done this side, our burr's on this side. We're gonna switch stones. We're gonna go to, that was a 140. This is a 300. I could have done this and then this one, a 300 and a 600, but I'm gonna use this one because it'll make it go a little bit faster. So we got the 17. I flipped my burr over, and now I'm going to sharpen this side. Repeat. Now we're going to talk about a couple other things that you can add for edge maintenance, and also just to add to your arsenal, because once you have the 2 diamond plates, a 300 and a 600, or whatever you wind up doing, like I said, you could do a 140 and a 400, you could do a 300 and a 600. I personally prefer 600 grit to be your second stone, or possibly your third if you get the 140, but I recommend having a 600, I guess, because that is going to be the most used stone, or not most used, it's going to be the best edge for most steels as far as what grit to stop at. 600 grit works well on every single steel. So same thing. And this is very easy to do. Anybody can do this. As long as you listen to me about locking your wrist and using these exact stones, you're gonna have no problems at all. Now we are going to the 600. And then same thing, I'm going to flip the burr, because now my burr, I sharpen this side, so my burr's flipped over that way. Very gentle. When I do this, I'm not putting any pressure, because the burr is very delicate, and I'm just flipping it out of the way. And the reason why I do that is because if I just go into sharpening, it could just tear off, and then it could leave micro tear out. And I just find that if I leave the burr on there and fatigue it by flipping it back and forth until the last, until the last stone, it's much easier to remove, because the burr is very important to understand in order to get a proper edge. You can watch many videos I've done on burr removal and all that stuff. So we are going to work on this side now. Same exact thing. This is a 600 grit diamond plate. Like I said, this is, in my opinion, the best grit for most steels. Now, there's going to be some examples and some steels that do even better with like a polished edge. There's going to be some steels that do better with a toothy or a coarse edge, but all steels do well at 600 grit. That looks beautiful. Now I have my burr on that side. Very gentle, no pressure. You can do 2 fingers when you do this. You're just getting the majority of it out of the way. Then same exact thing. I like to set it down, let it drop down to the edge. And using these angle finders is really, really easy. Once you get the hang of it, which it doesn't take anything to get the hang of it, you realize, like, man, these things are so easy to use. Okay, so now we are ready for the burr removal. Just to have a quick understanding of the burr and the burr removal, it is a metal wire that develops at the apex. So if we sharpened this side, a burr would develop on the opposite side. Now, if we flipped that burr over by working on this side or doing, a burr flipping pass, it would flip over to the other side, just like that. Now, when we want to remove it, we want to fatigue it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until it either pops off or until it slowly diminishes and reveals a nice clean apex. Now, the burr, like I said, we flipped it a few times. I'm going to use this stone because these are the systems I'm recommending you to get. However, my optimal way right now would be to use a ceramic. This is not a Work Sharp sponsored video or anything like that. I could use any ceramic rod. It just so happens that this is a Work Sharp ceramic, but this would be the optimal way to remove the burr, is on a ceramic or some sort of ultra fine stone. It does not have to be a ceramic. It could be like an ultra fine resin bonded diamond or an Arkansas, as long as it's a very hard, dense stone. But since we're only going to use this very little setup, I'm going to use the diamonds, and I'm very gently, like this since this is the final burr removal, I have to be extremely gentle with this. It's basically like stropping with no pressure on the stone. If you're not getting good results by doing the burr removal in a reverse pass, you can use the angle finder and just do the same forward passes that you have been doing, but with no pressure at all to remove the burr. So just flip it back and forth and very gently do passes across the stone. You do not want to add any pressure because then it will mess with your edge bevel. Right now, our edge bevel is finished. We are only trying to remove the little wire that's at the edge apex in order to reveal our cutting edge, because there's a burr on there right now that we need to gently remove. And then I will go to a strop, which is the final thing you need. You need a strop. Like I said, I recommend getting a ceramic rod as well, because you can use this for edge maintenance. You can use it for micro beveling. You can use it for burr removal. You can use it for polishing. You can use it for so much. But you definitely need to have a strop. So once you get most of the burr removed with the stone, you move on to the strop and clean the rest of it up. I have a lot of videos on stropping as well. I recommend getting stroppy stuff for your stropping compound. I do have it at the Neeves Knife Co. store if you want to get some. This is, in my opinion, the best stropping compound. It is very high concentration. It cuts really well. It's color coordinated, very easy to apply, very easy to clean off. It's just a great stropping compound all the way around. So as far as what leather strop you should get, if you're on a budget, get something from like Beaver Craft or something like that. I'll link some down in the description. I recommend that you get a decent quality leather. Don't go super cheap, but you don't have to go crazy either. The compound is what's going to be the most important. Your abrasive, not necessarily the leather that it sits on, but the leather does play a part. Okay, so we are done. Let's test the edge out. Very nice. And that was only a few minutes, right? Like, I could have lowered back the edge angle. I could have spent more time. Like I said, if I would have used the ceramic for the burr removal, it probably would have came out just a little bit sharper. But if you look, this is a great setup to learn on. If you can't use a 300 and a 600 to get a great edge, then you don't need anything else. A 300 and a 600 is the foundation of your edge. So if you can't get even 400 grit, you can say 140 and 400 grit, but if you can't get a quality edge off of a 400 to 600 grit, your second stone, then there's no reason to get a third, a fourth, a fifth, or whatever stones. You could get a ceramic to help you with those beginning stones as far as burr removal and edge maintenance and things like that, but you don't need any more stones. Forget about any other stones. They won't matter. They will not matter. You won't be able to use them in any way without building the foundation first. So the 300 and the 600, once you get good with that, then you can start adding on a 1200, 2000, maybe even some very exotic stones or whatever, you know, as far as like resin bonded diamonds and things like that. But I always recommend diamonds, just because, like I said, they cut the fastest, they work on any steel, and like I said, this is a very affordable. I know it all adds up, all of it adds up, but this is actually much more affordable than you would think in order to be able to sharpen all the knives in your kitchen, all your pocket knives, basically every knife you have, you'll be able to sharpen on these. This setup right here is exactly what you need to start off, and if you have that and you follow what I just said, it'll be very easy for you. Another thing you can add to your arsenal is a diamond rod, not a metal rod. This is diamond. So it's a metal rod with diamonds over the surface. This will help you with recurves. It will help you with edge maintenance. So you don't have to do a full sharpening. You can micro bevel on it, or you can do a full sharpening on it, because it is diamonds. This is about 1200 grit, so it is very fine. It's not something I'd want to reprofile on unless if I absolutely had to because it was a recurve or something. But this can back up your ceramic. You can use this, then go to this, you know, and you can just follow the angles right here, just like we did with the other ones. You can just follow the angles. Now these are going to micro bevel in most cases because they're going to be high edge angles, but you can get these and get every different angle you want. It does, you know, you can get a whole set of these, which will slide right over any rod, and then you can use it to do a 17-degree edge bevel or whatever, say if you're wanting to polish or you know, whatever. One thing I want to quickly add in about ceramics, if you're gonna add a ceramic for polishing purposes, if you're wanting like a mirror polish from a ceramic, then you have to get over 1200 grit. So you'd have to go 300, 600, 1200 grit, and then above you can use a ceramic for polishing. If you can get above 2000 grit, even better, because you need the scratch pattern to be as fine as possible in order for this to mirror polish your edge. But it will mirror polish 100%. It's basically like a it's like a 3500 to 5000 grit edge on an ultra fine ceramic. But these two are really good to have in your arsenal. I would say the ceramic is a must eventually. And then the diamond is very nice to have. But what's mandatory is stone holder, 2 diamond plates, stropping compound, and then, you know, like I said, you can add a ceramic rod or not, but I would recommend getting it if you can afford it. So there you guys go. Work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.